look me in the eyes, Kyle, and tell me Race Volgar is less cool than a stone angel.
Okay. You got me on Race Volgar.
Well, Kyle, it's been a little bit, but we have now run all of the hard and optional dungeons from Heavensward, which is a misleading headline because some of those quote-unquote hard dungeons are new versions of A Realm Reborn dungeons, but they're part of Heavensward and actually tie into events of Heavensward more than it ties into anything that had to do with those original dungeons back in A Realm Reborn, with notable exceptions like Hullbreaker Isle Hard.
And they're not hard, but there's also a naming convention here that's like extremes and savages and...
Wait, are you saying that hard modes aren't actually hard?
Let's go back in time to a simpler expansion, Heavensward, and face the wall of dungeons yet again.
That means it's time to dust off the Heavensward wall of dungeons. Today we're going to be doing something a little bit different. I've got this note right in front of me that I wrote up. I've already made my decisions on where I'm going to put every single dungeon that we're going to talk about today.
Now comes the face-off on the wall of dungeons.
This is going to be interesting. Our friendship may end today. Dusk Vigil is up first, Kyle.
Which is a blue quest.
Kyle, did you know that Dusk Vigil is not a required dungeon?
However, I think it's a really good dungeon. Showing my hand a little bit, I think it's a solid theme. The Falcon's Rest, Korthus Western Highlands needed a dungeon. And this thing was right there. Like, what an entrance. The giant wall, all the spikes coming out everywhere. I'm surprised it wasn't required because it was such a set piece on the horizon.
I was surprised it wasn't required as well, because I wasn't like aware of or used to. I was aware of it, but I wasn't used to this loop of new expansion, go get your Aether Currents so you can fly. I wasn't really looking out for them. I know you should go do all blue quests, and we even preach that, but I don't follow every single thing that I recommend. I'm a little, bendable in my beliefs, Kyle. But nonetheless, yeah, I was also surprised because you're right. It's so looming in the distance, and it's so atmospheric because of the constant, ceaseless blizzard that is happening. When we went and did it way after the fact, like very near the end of our Heavensward journey, I've really distilled my thoughts for dungeons down to three basic things, Kyle. What were the vibes? What was the music like? What were the bosses like? This is the Garrett patented 3-tiered system for evaluating a Final Fantasy dungeon. I could probably apply this to other games, but I don't know. Music is so specific and so rich in Final Fantasy XIV. I don't know if I would bring that to other games, but I digress. For Dusk Vigil, I think it scores pretty high in 2 out of 3 of these categories for me.
Ooh.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm curious to see which one is the not scorer.
Okay. Do you want to take a guess? What one do you think I think is just okay?
Being a fan of Frozen Throne and Wrath of the Lich King, Arthas in general, I assume you like the vibe. I think you like the music because it's kind of spooky, but I'm assuming you found the bosses lame.
I wouldn't go as far as to say lame, but yes, bosses is where I would say it didn't score as high for me, but the vibes, it's frosty, blizzard-covered ruins. I love the kind of, like, we as you and I both seem to enjoy the kind of visual escalation as you go through, as the zone around you changes, and there's a visual story being told as you go deeper into dungeons. In the midway section here, when you get into that hallway, like where it kind of closes up on you because you start on the outside and then you head inside, I absolutely love that. The music is haunting. It's got this, atmospheric music box melody going on. It's also hummable. So yeah, for me, it comes down to the bosses were a bit of the limiting factor. I thought that it was a damn good mammoth model. I thought that was
a nice mammoth model.
It was pretty cool. I rather enjoyed the frozen zombies just as like a theme. Both the trash monsters and the boss itself for Sir Hullbreaker.
Sounds right to me.
Yeah. Mechanically, maybe not the most interesting in the world. And then the final boss is not a bad model, but it's just kind of a griffin.
It's just a griffin, it's true. It does utilize some of the fallen rocks and get behind it mechanics in Final Fantasy. And when it comes to fallen rocks or line of sight, Final Fantasy is really giving. For the most part, you can fire through most of these terrain-based obstacles. So there's no problem getting behind it early and just hiding there. If you mess up this boss, you do get tossed around for an extended period of time, which can be frustrating and does kind of give an edge to maybe ranged classes and jobs in the situation.
Did you die to it or something, Kyle? This seems extremely specific.
When I was learning Samurai, I ended up in this dungeon a lot, and noticing the rocks was something I struggled with. On Astrologian Healing, I'm in such a back seat, I'm in the stadium seating, that I notice mechanics really well. It's very easy to react to things in range.
Yeah, that's the one point I will put in the final boss's corner, is that I am a sucker for classic MMO boss mechanics, and there is nothing more classic than hide behind the thing that just fell. Or just hide behind the thing. It doesn't have to fall. Sometimes there's pillars that are in the room and you're like, ooh, I bet we're gonna have to hide behind that. Or sometimes, Kyle, aim the boss at it so they daze themselves.
Moving up to the castle is really my favorite part of this. Moving through the snow, watching all the characters in their underwear step in the snow. All the players are dressed up in their glamours getting up there.
Just freezing
Gives
their
me
buns
a giggle.
off.
And I really like the mammoth. Final Fantasy makes a lot of unique models. This may be out in the world somewhere, but it wasn't laborious at this point. I didn't feel like in moving across a frozen tundra, I had witnessed 25 mammoths, only to then fight a slightly larger mammoth. This was very special, and I like that. And the griffin, this was our first griffin that I think we ever saw. Eventually, you see griffins in Stormblood, but griffins are kind of rare, and I like that aspect of it. Yes, it's not the most fascinating monster. It's one we know from a lot of different properties, but it gave it a rarity that made it mystical again.
So Kyle, to kick us off, where did you place Dusk Vigil?
Low banger. I think it is a solid 2 out of 3, as you mentioned, and even then, the bosses are traditional fantasy monsters, and that really speaks to me.
I feel like I'm going to get some flack here, but I'm not going to lie to you, okay? My job here is to not lie to you. It's to be honest to my feelings, Kyle. Because this is my list. You want to make your own list? Do so. Kyle did. You can make your own list. I think I would put this above the Airy. And I'm going to go to bat for it, because I let you put the Airy over the Vault, which I do think is a cardinal sin.
But you'd put it above your Vault, though.
Yes, I really, really like I just like hanging out in this dungeon a lot. And the hangout factor, that's part of the vibes. Like, do I want to be here?
The area had Nidhogg, though, and Nidhogg is better. Regardless of story, fighting a big spiky dragon is way better than a mammoth, an undead frozen dude, and a griffin.
Well, now we're going to make all the Vault fanboys mad when I suggest, you know what, let's put it below the Airy but above the Vault.
But you're a Vault fanboy.
I am a Vault fanboy, but I like Dusk Vigil more than the Vault.
Oh.
But I also like it more than the Airy.
Yeah? I think it looks real good right there. Kind of living like right in the middle there.
Right there-ish? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so that's where Dusk Vigil's going. I'm so sorry, Vault fans. Listen, I get it. I get it. We're splitting hairs here. We're splitting hairs. Now it's time to talk Neverreap.
Neverreap is such a cool name. So the dungeon's ultimately disappointing.
Yeah, man.
That's where I'm at. It's called Neverreap. That is such a cool name.
For vibes, I wrote Sea of Clouds. Meh.
Sea of Clouds is kind of meh.
Listen, I love the Vanu. Sea of Clouds is, you go all the way back to our Heavensward videos. I was like, it's very Dreamcasty. It reminds me of Sonic Adventure. It's fine. It's just that it's amongst so many other, I think, amazing zones in the expansion of Heavensward. So it really doesn't do much for me. The music, I think, is pretty forgettable. It sounds like muted Pokemon music to me. Like if the Pokemon Adventure music was kind of a letdown. And, boss 1, it's a bird. Boss 2 is a bird person. And boss 3 is a tornado serpent in a pretty cool arena. Boss 3, I think, gets boss arena points. It's a nice crystal cavern that you're fighting that thing in.
Nunyenkunk. Nunyenkunk? The first bird, has a cool visual mechanic where it brings in the fog, and you have to kind of find it, which is cute. Many would say that any visual mechanics at all are bad. I think this one's okay. Plus, it's in a very small arena. We're not like really searching hard for it. Kanu Vanu has a unique mechanic that I'd never seen before, where you have to pick up the totems and move them around, and thereby place them, changing a little bit of strategy for it. The final boss is a model we saw spawned back in the Bismarck fight and other places. I do like the arena it's hanging out in, and the turbine it casts with the knockback is kind of fun. But ultimately, I agree with you. Sea of Clouds isn't that evocative, nor did this change up that environment much, and all the bosses, other than maybe the redecorated bird, are things we've seen before. I feel like I was just wholly seduced by the awesome name and expected something way cooler, way darker. So I feel bad for you, Neverreap, but you kind of falsely advertised.
My turn, since you went first last time. Kyle, this is just a windmill slam, maybe not the best for me.
I think that's fair. I want to put it below Sohm. I feel like Sohm is still criminally low and could be a nice lame.
I don't care where it goes, as long as it goes in maybe not the best. I feel so little for Neverreap.
All right, let's have it live right there below Sohm.
All right, which means we are moving on to Fractal Continuum. I'm gonna show my hand here and say this dungeon's really freaking cool.
I agree. It was a Allagan museum, and what a cool idea for a dungeon. And to be going around like all the little optional things you get to read and the various creatures that are coming alive out of the glass and moving through the facility, which now that we have that language built of what Allagan tech looks like, particularly the Allagan tech that is in Azus Law has a very unique look to it compared to something like Crystal Tower. I really dug this dungeon. And the music's just kind of rocking. It's just going. It's a good time. This is a fanfic dungeon. Could have been part of the main story, but ultimately wasn't all that important. But you get to enjoy a little bit of side lore.
Yeah, the vibes are pretty much off the charts for me. This is about as high score as I can give a dungeon for vibes. It's really good. I love the museum aesthetic, and it's monsters breaking out of stasis tubes, which I will never not love. I love things breaking out of stasis tubes, Kyle. Bring back Alien Encounter in Disney, you cowards. The music in Fractal Continuum, Kyle, it's the best mall organ I've ever heard.
Mall organ?
It's organ. It's the mall organ. You ever, growing up in the 90s, you go through the mall and they have the piano store and there's always the dude playing the organ.
This sounds like those light up paintings of dolphins.
Which that store that sells that would be next door to the organ store at the mall.
You're absolutely right. This is the Brookstone music. I'm going to get a foot massager.
Also, Boss 1 is General Grievous, Boss 2 is an actual Minotaur, and Boss 3 is a curator, creepy-ass Sphinx-looking construct.
Yeah, the bosses are really solid. I like the side swipes that the multi-armed Phantom Ray performs, really adding to his theme. The Minotaur is nice. It's a really nice Minotaur. We've now seen it in Palace of the Dead and other places, but it's just a nice, bulky, thick boy Minotaur. And the curator is a creepy, creepy Robo-Sphinx.
All right, your turn. Where'd you put it?
This was an epic for me.
Ooh. I placed it high banger. I wasn't really thinking about where we placed the original Heavensward MSQ dungeons before, but looking at it now, I think I would have easily put it above Baelsar's Wall, but talking about it now with you, I want to go run it so bad that I think I want to move it into Epic.
I think the Anti-Tower, the Great Gubal Library have such an amazing theme that's just fun to explore. This is still a little Allagan messy. If we had done instead the Great Gubal Library, the Great Gubal Museum, and then all the monsters were the same with the same test tubes, top of epic. But the Allagan language, it's a little weird.
It's not an aesthetic we dislike, but it's not our favorite one. Like, it's for me, the look of the Allegan technology, I don't dislike it, but I don't love it. It's pretty middle of the road for me. I much prefer, like, the Mach, if we're going through architecture of major villains in Final Fantasy XIV. Personally, it's a very personal thing. I like the aesthetics of Anti-Tower and Great Gubal Library more, so I would put this low epic.
I like it.
Again, though, this is like super splitting hairs. I'm glad I don't have to choose. I can just go run any of these anytime I want. All right, so it's time to talk about Saint Mocianne's Arboretum. This is my vibe. This is the look of this place. It is just, it's gorgeous while also being sad. It's super atmospheric. I love the fog in the air. And there's a really nice escalation visually as you travel through, because we go from what looks like an ancient temple greenhouse into spores, into a wasp lair. And I don't even usually like fantasy beehives. I can't stand it when World of Warcraft does it, but I actually kind of dig how Final Fantasy XIV does it. And then you come out on the other side and you're in creepy ruins, and you end up fighting Lady Gaga's version of The Last of Us.
That's surprisingly accurate.
And then the music is great too, because the music really fits, because there's something about, like, this place definitely used to be beautiful. It used to be a sight to behold, and it has fallen into disrepair, and the music matches that, because the music is, I would describe it as oddly pretty while also being haunting and sad. It is ambient in a way that works for the dungeon.
I agree with you completely that this is a wonderful tour of aesthetics that you would want to see in a giant garden. And I love Botanica from Burning Crusade. This is that cranked up to 11. Like, absolutely, they took the aesthetic and blew it up. You're right, the bees really work. And I don't feel like I'm shrunk down. I feel like they're giant creepy bees because they're very spiky and armored and dangerous. It's not comical. It's very serious. Even when you're surrounded by these rivers of honey, I'm taking the threat seriously. And I really like that.
This is epic for me. I love this dungeon. This is, it's heavily weighted toward aesthetics, but the bosses are also pretty fun. Even the very first boss, I love that it spawns mini versions of itself. So it has its own massive cone attack that rotates, but then you have to worry about all those little tiny cone attacks that don't rotate. And it's just enough. It's just enough little extra flair that's not going to slow me down in a roulette, but also doesn't let me completely turn my brain off while I'm running it.
This is the dungeon of AoEs, but AoEs are fun to dodge. And I feel like every time I run this, I discover something a little different, see another corner. It's just so big. And compared to the Eyrie, which is very cloudy, and Baelsar's Wall, which feels like you've seen it all in one go, I put this in top of Banger, but I'm comfortable with it in Epic. Absolutely.
I think I would push the envelope. I don't know. I don't go and look up what like popular opinion is on dungeons before we do this. I always find out after the fact because, you let me know. I feel like, though, I just get a sense that Fractal Continuum is a really popular dungeon for a lot of people. Me personally, I would put the Arboretum above Fractal Continuum, but I could concede bottom of Epic. I just really like the look of this place.
No, I think that's fair. And I really like the bees. I've loved giant bees since Banjo-Kazooie. And honestly, that was such a surprise. It was so cutely thrown in there. I want to put it right above Fractal. Right
wow,
there.
I managed to talk you to bump it up a full grade and above Fractal.
Yeah. I think I like it. I like it. The bees, man, the bees.
Now it's time to talk about Pharos Sirius Hard. We're going down the lighthouse, Kyle, instead of up it.
Really cute idea. To reverse the dungeon, reverse the Mario Kart track.
Reverse the polarity.
Is descending as cool as ascending?
No.
No, it's not.
No, it isn't.
It's not.
Absolutely not. Not even close.
It was really cool getting up there all the way to fight Booby Harpy and going back down, even though it's been like kind of, I don't know, like reinforced, research, put some supplies in it. It wasn't as strong as the normal mode, the non-hard mode, the easy mode.
It's not easy. It's not easy.
It's not hard. Yeah,
original.
It's all good.
Original.
We're all good.
They should really just put a 2 next to these. Pharos Sirius 2. Pharos Sirius 1, you fought your way up a tower to fight some fan service. Pharos Sirius Hard, you fight your way down to fight a flaming Slimer.
Yeah, it's definitely Slimer, which did kill us.
Yes, I do give it points for that. I give it points for that. In the boss category, the final boss has skill check mechanics where like you gotta burn down those gray bombs, which we didn't know about because we run everything without looking it up the first time, and we definitely died of death.
The first boss, oh my god, these names. Graha Luminary? Glowy Rocks. Okay. Order, Patriarch, Bigu. Was a kobold with engines you had to destroy. Not all that terribly interesting. I did kind of like when we got down in the Foundation and things got real rocky and mine-ish, and that was kind of interesting.
Was it, or did it remind you of Copperbell Mines? Because that's exactly what it did to me.
I mean, it's hard to not compare it to the original. And I think the original was really strong, and this was much weaker. Can I take myself out of my I really like Pharos Sirius original, so can I like remove that from my brain?
I'm not sure if it matters. I think it gets worse if I remove that from my brain and just compare it to Heavensward dungeons. There are 2 things for this that's a saving grace for me. One, I just like lighthouses on principle. I like being in a lighthouse, and I like the lore around Pharos Sirius, so I like being in that place. And 2, mechanically interesting bosses. Boss 2, thank you for reminding me. Order Patriarch, I think actually has some decent mechanics that are memorable. Like you have to burn down those alchemy boxes that spawn, and then he also does that spin drill dash. So anyway, it's your turn. Where did you put it, Kyle?
Oh, we gotta talk about the music.
Do we?
This is a slightly augmented version of the original Pharos Sirius music, but I really like it. I love the tone. I love the operatic singer in the background. I'm a really big fan of the Pharos Sirius business.
I think now's the time where I admit, not the biggest fan of opera.
Okay, if I'm going first, I say this is lame.
Gotta be nice about it. Could be cooler.
Right, could be cooler. It's got the music. It's got a lighthouse theme. Descending is a really cute idea to reverse the dungeon, and then at the end it has a surprise where you go even deeper in the dungeon.
Well, Kyle, I also put this in could be cooler.
Then perfect.
Wonderful. One thing I would say is it would touch the bottom for me.
Oh, you want to like...
It's real close to maybe not the best, but interesting boss mechanics saved this for me, and the fact that it's in a lighthouse. We're going to talk about Lost City of Amdapor Hard. Talking vibes, I already like Amdapor. I already like this dungeon, and Lost City of Amdapor is moodier and rainy. Already kind of dig it.
Lots of egg sacs everywhere, though, and they're kind of colorful, so I feel like they've detracted from the previous fungi aesthetic. Well, wait, hang on, though. And now it has a bunch of eggs in it.
Well, there were eggs in it before.
Right, but these are more like cocoons, which I'm now getting like, oh wait, was it webby because like the silkworms, the caterpillars and stuff were webbing it up, and now we're coming back to it later and it's got a bunch of cocoons and butterflies in it?
Did that not click? Yeah. No,
yeah, and we find a big moth. Yeah, so I guess that makes sense.
Yeah, those are there the first time through, and the first boss the first time through is the redo of the Gubal model, right? With the mouth in the stomach.
Right.
I love that boss. I absolutely love that boss. Yeah. But the moth is also cool. Like it's just a moth. I don't get super stoked about moths. Hey, listen, Butterfree was in my 6 in my first original playthrough of Pokemon, but I'm not all about moths. But it's fun enough. It's got some pretty decent mechanics, I think. What surprised me thinking back on this was how much I like the statue boss aesthetic for boss 2 and boss 3. Final Fantasy XIV does very well with its statue art. They really look like stone, even though they're moving. It's something I didn't think I would like, but upon revisiting it for this, these are cool bosses. They look neat. There's a nice attention to detail. I think the music works. It's, kind of like a haunting, sad piano.
Is everything haunting and sad? I guess so.
No, but the places I like tend to be.
This is what I think of when I think of like traditional Final Fantasy music, like tickling the ivories.
I'm trying to do what you did now with Pharos Sirius, which is like I'm trying to take my brain away from original Lost City of Amdapor, but it's very difficult. At the end of the day, I think I like the original more, but I still enjoy this one. I'm not mad when this shows up in my roulette.
I do not like the king hat on the lion, the flying lion. That's a dumb hat. He would be so much cooler with that. I know it's like a traditional kind of royal symbol. It's like the fleur-de-lis kind of thing. That's French. This is more of like a British kind of look, but lions wearing hats is dumb. Ball caps, crowns, whatever. I can't think of a hat that looks good on a lion. But I do like the last boss. The last boss looks like the most frustrating magic card you can think of. It's resistant to everything. They're not allowed to lose the game while it's on the field. I hate it.
I played a lot of white decks back when I was big into Magic, and this Karibu is like a Pharos era white legendary.
Absolutely.
100%.
So it gets points for that. It's a good look. It's a really good look.
Karibu's just cool. I like classical warrior angels. That's a vibe I'm very much into. So I like Lost City of Amdapor. I don't love Lost City of Amdapor, so I'm gonna go first, Kyle.
Okay.
I would start the bidding at the bottom of Banger.
All right. For me, it is middle of Banger. And that's because we take the Lost City of Amdapor tile set, the kind of more dark descending into the old keeps look of the old magical guilds that ruined this place in the first place. And we move out of that to the pristine, untouched castle, which is a very cool evolution. And regardless of the silly second boss, I do think facing down the Paladin Order statue at the end is a really cool change up for a place that was so corrupted.
To me, it comes down to, I think Sorkai is cooler than this. It's a very simple equation for me. Sorkai is, for me, it's like if Sea of Clouds was cool. It gives you that in the sky thing, but it's much more operatic. And also, if I'm coming to it from, hey, you know what aesthetic I like? White magic cards. Sorkai does that better. Also, you fight a freaking dragon at the end of Sorkai, and it's Racevolgar. Are you gonna look me in the eyes, Kyle, and tell me Racevolgar is less cool than a stone angel?
Really what you're doing is selling Sorkai so well that I feel like we have to move it up.
People had opinions about Vault, Aetherical Chemical Research Facility, and Sorkai. And I would like to be clear, Banger means we liked it.
There's so many moving pieces. The Vault is cool for a very particular aesthetic. Ethereal Research Facility, I love. The Ares great because of great final boss. And same with Balsar's Wall along with the conveyor belts. Like there's so much good in here.
Yes, Heavensward had some amazing dungeons, is what we're landing on.
Yeah, really. Okay. You got me on Racevolgar. That's the technicality here. And I realize Banger is currently elevated by its best trait. And each one of these is propped into Banger because the one thing you're there to see. And Lost City of Amdapor is a good overall dungeon, but I don't think there's anything that elevates it above Racevolgar.
We're simultaneously ranking an entire theme park, but also the individual rides.
Yeah. Okay. Let's do it.
All right. Justice for my boy Racevolgar. You have no idea how much has been eating me that we put Sorkai so low. It's been eating at me. Hullbreaker Isle Hard is up next. And Kyle, I'm a proud member of the Maelstrom.
Okay.
I had a lot of fun with this one. It's pirate trials. It's fun. It's jaunty. It's got tie-ins with Limsa and the Maelstrom, which means Merweb, which means I like it, no matter what. This Merweb's just cool, man.
I'm with you on vibes, not because I'm really feeling the pirate aesthetic or kind of the island atmosphere. It's more just that in the cornucopia of options we have here, a dungeon that is for the men, for the fun of it, just to give everyone a good romping time and train them up. Yeah, like Sorokai, that gets some points for variety.
The setup for the dungeon is really unique. Aesthetically, it's an island. It just looks like an island, and you're fighting curls and pirates. Also, there's way too many gorillas. I don't want to fight gorillas.
There's a lot of gorillas. Gorillas, I don't think are on islands, but anyway.
I don't know. I'm not a big monkey or ape fan, unless they're really, really small and cute.
I like lemurs.
Yeah, lemurs are spider monkeys, lemurs. Those are great. Once we get to like chimpanzee and beyond, I'm like, yeah, they're too close to humans. I'm out. They creep me out.
Really, it's the butts. Like, I just want you to have a fuzzy butt. I don't want to see your butt.
Also, I don't want to kill them. It's just like, oh, you're so close to human, and this just feels terrible. I'd rather fight actual people. You know, it's a fair fight. Although I guess gorillas could rip you apart. I'm getting lost here.
Gorillas are kind of cute though. They got fuzzy butts. I like gorillas.
They're scary. They're just
it's really the bonobos that are like creepy, smart.
The music, maybe not the best.
Not as piratey either as I think I'd like to take it. That might be more of an American film industry construct when we think of what pirate music sounds like.
The bosses they're a mixed bag. So you know how I said I really like classic MMO tropes for boss fights? To me, a classic MMO fight trope is like the gauntlet style, which is the first boss. Like, hey, you're just in this pit, and we're just gonna keep throwing things at you. That's super classic MMO. But this to me needs more character. Because when I think of the ones that I really like from WoW, they have character. Like I think of TOC from Wrath of the Lich King, where you're fighting characters from the opposing faction that are wearing armor sets that you recognize, while the faction leaders yell at you from the stands. Now, granted, that's a raid, but there's also a 5-man that kind of did something similar. They're a more colorful cast of characters. We're fighting like cats and no-name pirates here. Didn't really do much for me.
It's fun, mechanically, dodging all the stuff. But
Yeah.
yes, it is a pile of mess. It's enjoyable as a DPS because whatever you target, you're going to take down. So it's not that we have to coordinate targets or we're in a huge rush there. And that's kind of fun. Everyone splits to the wind and takes out what they can.
Where I start to like the bosses is with Amir, which I didn't think I would like, because I realize Amir the Snail is a callback to an older, more classic Final Fantasy boss, but I haven't played older Final Fantasies, so I have no frame of reference for this. But it's a really just fun fight to me. It's super video gamey. He's constantly replacing the ground, which affects how things are going to go down. He's changing his shell. It just feels like a video game boss, which I enjoyed.
A nice little break from the aesthetic too as we make our way through the cave as we head towards the final boss, the Grand Storm Marshal Slafianser.
Mistbeard. Just call him Mistbeard.
Okay, Mistbeard. Right.
Puts the helmet on.
Yeah.
And suddenly he's a Souls character.
There's like a treasure chest mechanic and you gotta get the poison cleaned, and it's kind of nice having the audience there on the boat ship in the background, but it's kind of a lame end to things. But that's the theme, right? We're not here to kill anybody. We're just here to help everybody train up.
Yeah, we're here to have a challenge, right?
Yeah.
Like we're here to like spar and have a good time and show our mettle. I think the treasure chest with the antidotes is a unique experience. I have gotten this in repeats from running random dungeons, and I can't stand it because everyone steals my goddamn treasure chest.
Yeah. Yeah, that happens.
So annoying. So it's, I actually like the mechanic. It's fine if I'm running with you and some friends, but I kind of cringe when Hullbreaker Isle Hard shows up if I'm just like randomly running some stuff. Kind of showing my hand. Where'd you put it?
Right in the middle of could be cooler. But there's a lot thematically I like about this. I think this would be a pretty solid MSQ quest if we had to gain the favor of a certain faction or it had some sort of weight to it. But as an aside, it just didn't really hold up.
We try not to talk about the story outside of it. I liked it. I liked the story outside of this. I thought it was a fun little side story. If we did take into account like the lore ramifications and all that stuff, this would go higher for me because I just thought this was a really fun side story. But we don't take that into account. I actually also put it in Could Be Cooler, and I have it above Pharos Sirius.
Perfect. I like it.
So up next is Gubal Library Hard, which for the regular version is a Heavensward dungeon and is currently sitting at the very top of Epic. This is
as of right now, Great Gubal Library Original is our favorite Heavensward dungeon. It is time to talk about the hard version. Well, vibes, Kyle. I'm just going to put words in both our mouths. We both love Gubal Library. I think we both love creepy magic libraries on principle. Gubal Library Hard is even creepier and has Forest Temple vibes.
Yeah, the decaying part of the library, the forbidden section. It has a absolutely amazing evolution of one of our favorite bosses in the whole game. It's more of what you want, and it takes it deeper. Ink Long Dry was a banger of a song, and therefore so is Bibliophobia.
Yeah, it's very full. It's like the piano stands out, but then you listen for it and you're like, oh, there's a whole layered string section going on here as well.
Yeah, it's not as jazz lounge as the previous version. But
No,
it's still kind of the same song.
The jazz music original version is so unique that I think I like it more than this, but this is not bad by any means. It's very dramatic, and it really gives a sense of adventure. I would say 2 out of the 3 bosses are out of this world awesome. I loved them.
The Demon of the Tome, with the books slamming together on the AoEs, with the bridge you're on, is just badass. I like the flame. Liquid Flame's kind of cool.
Spicy edition Pepsi Man?
Yeah, it's the threat of the library, right? The fact that this flame is living inside the library.
Yeah.
It kind of has an edge that matches the theme. I want to kill it because it's gonna burn all the books. And
okay, I think it's fine, but it's not an owl in a chair fighting us with the power of literature.
I wonder where this started. That owls are the curators and keepers of libraries. But it absolutely works.
In folklore, they're a wise animal.
Well, and the fact that he's in his chair, which is flying, is just outrageous. But the books are attacking you, and he's got a bunch of cyclones.
Dude, when the big book comes down, and one of the few things from Final Fantasy that I know from popular culture, like a behemoth comes out of it, it was finally a Final Fantasy reference I knew, Kyle. I was like, I know what that is. That's awesome as hell.
Book.
Like the book slams down and this just jacked, pissed off. I love how pissed off behemoths look. They just look like the only thing keeping them alive is pure rage and steroids. I freaking love this dungeon. I think it's fantastic. I think it lives up to its predecessor. Where did you put it?
It's top of epic, man. As you make your way through the red carpet section of the library, and the books are falling from the ceiling, opening up and releasing the trash. I love libraries. I love used bookstores. I love books. And this is just an aesthetic that is well above the music, super solid, and the bosses were really fun. It's just check, across the boxes.
I could sit here and talk about how I really don't know if I prefer the original or the hard mode more. I might slam them together side by side and say, I just love these. I'll never be mad ever seeing these come up in roulette, or a friend being like, hey, I need this dungeon. Do you mind running it with me? They're great. They're really great. They speak so much to, I think, aesthetics that both of us love.
Hell yeah.
It's so good. Ninth and final dungeon that we haven't talked about yet from our list of Heavensward hard and optional dungeons. It's time to discuss Sohm All Hard. We were pretty harsh on OG Sohm All. It came in with all this lore. And then you just kind of walk around a cave for a while.
It just seemed like it had all the pieces to be great, and it wasn't. I feel like Sohm All Hard gave me what I was looking for. Gave me that dinosaur cave.
I wanted more lava, and I got more lava.
Yes.
The music's kind of goofy. It's, very electric guitar heavy. I love electric guitar.
We get a really cool tour of models, and some of these we've seen other places, like the Blooming Chichu. I think these things are fabulous. What horrifying little gremlin beasts, or big gremlin beasts, I should say. Like, they're great. Fighting the, as you put it, the Bulbasaur version of the rock elemental, that was fun.
Late onward, I call it ground type Bulbasaur.
The cherry on top here is Gauro, who is like a full-blown Godzilla fight.
Yeah, you yelled. We ran this together real quick before recording this because we were like, oh crap, we hadn't done some all hard. And you just yelled, oh, Killer Croc. You're right. At first, he looks like Killer Croc, but then he does that glow. And he starts roaring like Godzilla. And to me, it's a really unique model. I'm trying to figure out what it's shared with, and I don't know. I haven't seen anything that looks like Galro. I guess it could also be Goro. But it's kind of a standard looking monster, but to me it's really well executed.
Yeah, he's beastly. He's in the thick of it, and this is something we're only just getting to in Stormblood, but he didn't really have that many indicators on his attacks. He would charge up various swings, putting his claw in the air, or get ready with his butt to do tail swipes. Getting to watch the model for the cues, in addition to the ground effects, has been such a cool evolution as we've gotten deeper into Stormblood. Seeing that here already happening back in a Heavensward hard is a great development.
Yeah, it just gives me just classic fantasy adventure game vibes. I enjoyed it, and Lava Scorpion was fun. I could take or leave the model, but the mechanics for that fight were really good. The edges of the arena burning away with lava as it comes up, and then you get stuff coming down from the top, and then you also get lava burbling up from the ground to give you ground effects that you're supposed to avoid. Plus this really almost circular fan attack, where as a tank, it was easier to just run through the boss into this little safe wedge behind him than it was to, run away from the circle. There were nice little finesses without it seeming like it was going to be something that was going to be a real pain in the rear if I get this while just, grinding dungeons all day.
Well, and it's not just like they put the ground on fire. They actually changed out the textures and the depth with the lava, so you really felt like you were on this little island in the sea of fire with the geysers going off in the background.
The way this whole dungeon works with lava, too, is just... I've been trying not to mention WoW, but it just takes anything WoW's done with lava and just bodies it.
Yeah.
The look of this dungeon, it's like, yeah, I've seen it before, but not like this.
There's just a lot of love here for a blue quest. I'm honestly shocked that there was this much polish on kind of random aside. Like, hey, can you go back in there for me? I don't fit in the cave.
All right, so, Kyle, I started this at the bottom of Banger. That's where I put it. I put it below Lost City of Amdapor.
It's a banger, for sure.
After our discussion, I might put it above Lost City of Amdapor. But I really fought you for Lost City of Amdapor where it is. So if you want to keep it above...
Let's do it. Let's do it right there.
Okay. It's time for the bonus banger round.
Bonus round! We gotta deal with Banger here. This is a mess. I cannot abide ending this video with Banger unsettled. I think what we have to do is we have to picture the very best thing about it and judge it on that merit. Because there's so much good here.
But what if the boss is the best thing about one thing, but just the vibe or the aesthetic or the setting of the dungeon is the best thing about another? That's hard.
That's what I'm saying. All of these have a 5 out of 5 in one of those 3 categories. That's what makes it so difficult.
So if I'm saying, for me, Dusk Vigil, it's just the setting. It is so well done. The fit and finish of Dusk Vigil from an artistic standpoint, I think is near perfect. It is a beautiful dungeon. Race Fulgar is just cool as shit. Probably the coolest boss we had. The coolest single boss fight, I think, in anything here. Is a cooler setting better than a cooler boss, or is a cooler boss better than a cooler setting? Or is the coolness of Race Fulgar cooler than the coolness of just how Dusk Vigil looks?
That's what you have to do. You have to really zen and imagine yourself in the environment. And now imagine yourself fighting Race Fulgar. Which one makes you feel cooler? Which one do you like better? You have to really focus.
Dusk Vigil, and no one's going to back me up on this.
Wow. Yeah, I don't think they will.
No one will, including you.
At the very least, we can move down Baelsar's wall. As much as I love conveyor belts and robots and the aesthetic there, the Griffin fight has been outclassed slightly. The groundbreaking's so cool, though. But
it is very cool. But I like the Race Fulgar fight more.
Fuck, it can't be done.
My problem is I don't know what the top is of Banger. My gut is telling me Baelsar's Wall and Airy are too high up. But what do we agree on is actually the top? Because I might make an argument for Sorkai.
That's where my brain went. I think overall, Sorkai is just what a solid dungeon. There's no downside of Sorkai or Sohm all hard. We've had things that knock down other ones, like the messiness of Etherochemical, the maybe less interesting bosses of the Vault. But Sorkai and Sohm all, they're just good.
Yeah, but Sohm all doesn't do anything, I feel like, unique. It just does like a classic setting very well.
Yeah, that's true.
Whereas Sorkai is, I've just never seen anything like it.
I think we switch Sorkai and Baelsar's Wall.
I was kind of thinking the same thing.
Yeah, that makes me comfy. I think that's the right choice now. I think that looks a lot better.
I'm really happy with where Dusk Vigil is. I think it's gonna ruffle a lot of feathers, but it is so my jam.
And I'm saying with the Airy for me. Like I like the evil space castle vibe with a big dragon fight at the end.
You know why I'm okay with the Airy staying there? The towers falling over is just so cool.
It's true. I
think
absolutely agree with that.
I personally think the Nidhogg fight is overrated, but the towers falling over is so damn cool. See, I came away thinking Baelsar's and Airy got away with murder, so I might say research facility and Airy change places, but then I just win the Dusk Vigil fight.
Dude, I would straight up make that trade. Like, I disagree about Dusk Vigil in the Vault, but I would trade you Pokemon cards in the cafeteria right now for an Airy swapped with a Etherochemical research facility.
Send it.
I would walk away from that trade really happy.
And again, too, we think these are cool. These are all things we like. Like, you want to put red text under Banger, it can say damn fine.
That gives me more peace.
This does give me more peace. I can sleep on that.
Me too. I can relax now.
Yeah, I do feel like I got away with a crime with Dusk Vigil.
You are, but that's all yours. Like
I'd love it, man. That's my dungeon, man.
The audience can be mad about you putting Dusk Vigil there. I'm scot-free. That's not my fault.
We did not talk about this ahead of time. This happened just in recording. But dude, I've been carrying a dagger for Sorkai for a while. It bummed me out how low Sorkai ended. You really came in swinging.
I don't like Pegasus. Pegasuses are so lame. Like, that's really what it comes down to.
I don't either, but that fight has really cool mechanics. I like hallway fights. It's something we didn't get a lot of in World of Warcraft, and something Final Fantasy XIV does a lot, and every single hallway fight is different from the other.
Demon Tomes, man.
It's good stuff. Let us know your thoughts. Do we have justice in the Banger category now for Heavensward? But this completes the Heavensward Wall of Dungeons.
If you would like to make your own Wall of Dungeons, hey, we'll put the assets in the Discord. So join our Discord with the link below.
All right, as always, it's YouTube. Please like, subscribe, ring the notification bell. We have new uploads every Wednesday morning, and we stream every Monday afternoon and Thursday evening. So come join us for that. And if you really like what we're doing here and you want to support both Kyla and myself, well, we have YouTube memberships now. If you're in our live chat, you can get access to emojis. And if you're in our Discord, you can get yourself access to those members-only channels. So thank you so much for watching, everybody. Until we see you again, GG.